Let's do a little
4,
exercise.
1,
Element 115, essentially non-existent.
3, 4.
And he told police he was able to time travel because aliens filled his body with, you guessed it, alcohol.
Is that what you say, like, when you get up in the morning, I'm ready to rock?
No, I actually wake up and say, man, I wish I could go back to bed, but I can't. I have things to do today.
Same here, dude. I'm with you.
Wow. So we either start the episode with you saying one thing or the other. So perfect. That's right. Welcome to the Beasty Boys. No relation. We're here once again. Episode 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty swanky. I like
2.
it.
Yeah, can't believe we made it. We didn't get canceled yet.
Oh, it's coming.
That's true.
I'll cancel us.
Usually you have to
if we
put
have
episodes out, I think. Yes, downtime. No talking for all of us. Perfect. I am John Stenning.
I'm Jarvis.
This is
I thought we were going to go around in a circle.
no. I think we should.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
we should.
All right, I'm Jarvis. Hi.
My name's
Mike.
Mitch. Oh, well, we talked over each other.
Yeah.
Mike, please go ahead and introduce
Mi-
yourself again.
I already did. It's Mike. You know that. And this is my friend Mitch.
Hello.
Yeah. And first episode we talked about Bigfoot. This episode, we're gonna get into it about alien encounters. But first, how's everyone doing? Mitch, how are you?
Like I told you earlier, I'm about a 7 out of 10, which is pretty on par for me most days, so it's not out of the ordinary.
Yeah. Gotcha. 7 out of 10. That's good. Jarvis, you have a cat in your lap.
Yeah, he's going to be bothering me throughout this episode, so I might as well have him say hello real quick.
Oh my goodness.
Hi, guys.
Wow, those eyes.
Yeah.
This is Aesop. Yeah, I'm doing all right. Hanging in there. Had a lot of fun doing some alien reading over the week. Yeah, this is a really fun topic for me. I've always thought that I was an alien and that my real parents were going to come back someday and get me, maybe, when I became an adult, but it hasn't happened yet, unfortunately, so I get to talk about it with you guys, and that's exciting for me.
Oh, boy.
Do you still think this?
Yeah, part of me, yeah. There's a little part of me that's like, oh man, imagine one day I'm just like laying in bed and I get abducted and my real parents are like, hey dude.
Yeah.
They pick me up and take me to Andromeda or wherever the hell they're from.
Hey, dude.
I don't know.
So, yeah, for me, I always thought I'd have like force powers, like that was always a thing, or like I'd be able to like levitate things, which I guess sort of goes hand in hand, right? But like that was for me. That was like the dream. You growing up and you're like, someday I'm gonna be able to like levitate that shit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
hasn't happened yet.
That'd be
So.
sick. Maybe one
I went
day.
through that phase when I was younger, maybe about like 14 or 15, about a solid like 3 months trying to figure out how to move stuff with my mind, only to come to the conclusion that you either had to be like a Tibetan monk studying in Shangri-La or it was impossible. So that's my final conclusion on the matter. If
'cause
someone
that was
can
the
prove
thing.
me wrong, I'd love to see it.
Mutant powers are supposed to manifest at puberty usually, right?
Yeah, theoretically.
Sure, but what if? Yeah, I mean, but who knows when mutant puberty is?
I remember reading that in the comic book and being like, oh, well, if it's going to happen, it'll be within the next couple of years. I just got pubes, so
Well, we all know that. We all know comic books are based on fact too. So
claws any day
All
now.
of them, especially Archie.
yeah.
Mike, any like powers you ever wish you had, or any like maybe you wanted Bigfoot to come and rescue you and bring you part of his family or something?
No, but kind of like Jarvis, except externally, my entire family used to say that I was from a traveler family, what was known back in the day as gypsies, but that's not
Sure.
as accepted these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they would say whenever I was misbehaving or doing something they didn't like, it would be like, your real family's going to come get you. You better stop. And they did that for years. Like
Wow.
Years. Yeah. So which I guess
then
is
what-
pretty abusive in hindsight, but I was like kind of into it. And now
Yeah.
one of like my favorite things would be to live in one of those communities.
Did they one day sit you down and were like, Mike, we were just messing with you, dude. We're sorry.
I figured it out. I figured
Yeah,
it
you
out.
figured it out.
There's been no apologies in my families for anything.
Jarvis's answer was like mad cute and like fantastical, and Mike's was like dark as fuck.
Yeah, sad.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we're gonna talk about alien encounters, right? Like, and I mean, I sort of told you guys, but alien encounters, like as we know it, didn't really receive widespread attention until the 1960s, right? So there's like two main stories that sort of put alien encounters on the map. One being this Antonio Villas-Boas case from Brazil in 1957, and then the other one is actually the Hill abduction, which I think Jarvis is going to talk about a little bit later, right? Have you guys heard of both of those?
I have heard of both of them, but for the sake of the audience, I'm going to pretend I haven't.
Okay, cool. So no, I'm not going to go into too much depth about those specific cases. I'm going to let Jarvis sort of take the wheel when it comes to the Hill abduction, and then we can talk about the other ones later. I'm just trying to say, like, you know, there are many cases of similar type of stories happening earlier from like the 50s and 40s, some of them coming to light after like this sort of boom in the 1960s. People started to like become more comfortable with sharing these stories.
Yeah.
Some researchers refer to these earlier abductions as paleo abductions. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that.
Yeah. Which always
but they're sort of these like
it strikes me as an
it's a
odd
weird term.
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
like,
What?
it's like yeah. Sorry, Mitch. Go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, like, when you think paleo, right? You think like Paleolithic, like literal prehistory, like Cro-Magnon man and shit. Like, I have no idea why we would refer to something that happened in the 1920s as paleo. It's just
Gluten-free.
bizarre.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's just because it was like before the sort of boom of the 60s that they were like, okay, anything that happens before, like any stories that sort of came out, right? These aliens are being Me Too'd 40 years after any of this sort of shit happened. And they're calling them paleo abductions, which...
Now, what's the definition of that? Did you discover like what they mean by that? Like,
so they're just... they're just stories that date back to the like as early as the 1920s, but it's literally just before these two like predominant cases of the Boas case from Brazil in 1957 and then the Hill abduction, which happened in the U.S. in 1961.
now, do you guys think Sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, do you guys think that obviously the Roswell incident in 1947 had to have influenced these people, right? The people claiming these abduction stories, because that was 1947, right before these abduction stories started coming out. Had to something. So I think it had to have stemmed from that.
It's sort of that's sort of what paleo abduction means. That like it's like these stories that are coming to light afterwards. So some people I'm sure some people are just lying. Maybe they haven't even experienced anything. They just want a little bit of like. They would just want to talk. You know, they just want to share this story.
Their attention.
And so they're sort of. Exactly. Yeah. So they're taking these other sort of big stories that are now like in the news, and they're like, oh, in 1943, I was out on a farm and I saw this thing. So I think that has a little bit to do with why they're calling them paleo abductions. But I agree, it's not a great term whatsoever, right? So there are stories that date back to like the 1920s. There's this book called New Lands from 1923. It was written by this dude Charles Fort, and he's like. In the book, he says, one supposes that if extra-mundane vessels have sometimes come close to this Earth, then sailing away, terrestrial aeronauts may have occasionally left this Earth or may have been seized and carried away from this Earth. So basically, it's like speculation that...
EMVs.
Aliens. Exactly, yeah. So... Many of these cases come out during the 60s because of the open nature of people talking about their encounters, but we have like these great stories of like pilots talking about aliens that resemble metallic stalks of asparagus is one that I read about, and then like these army soldiers that see bright lights, but then they experience disassociation before finding themselves in like a location that they don't remember going to. So there's sort of these like themes that I think we are going to hear about the more and more we sort of look into these cases. Right?
Yeah.
It's an extremely interesting phenomenon, and I think the reason why it's continued on so much is because there are enough factors that would lean towards credibility. You do have a history of science fiction in media before that people could say like, oh, that idea came out of some author or came out of film and then it was planted in somebody's head. So they hallucinated and they were pulling on that. Or you could say that maybe an author based something on someone else. Because once you start getting military involved, which are in theory the most credible, quote unquote, human witnesses that we have.
Yeah.
You know, what did they see and what prompted them? And I think that's what a lot of this ends up being is the people that are describing these experiences had an experience. And whether or not that was from space, aliens, or hallucination, or unknown technology, that's what is very interesting, but also extremely hard to pin down.
Yeah.
I agree immensely.
I think War of the Worlds also kind of added to that.
Oh,
that
for
whole,
sure.
Craziness of over
hysteria.
aliens and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that not just the book. I'm talking like the radio broadcast that they did. I think that also kind of brought it more to the forefront. You know, because I mean, if you read anything about the War of the Worlds when it aired, people were losing their minds. They thought it was a real broadcast. They thought aliens were
That's
actually.
so cool.
And I think that was totally a seed that was planted that people started using as they started these stories. I think most. I mean, who knows if. Where do you guys stand do you believe in these alien abductions? Like, do you believe that these are true? Like, or do you think it's somebody somebody making it up? Like, it's for me personally. I think they're out there. I don't know. I'm on the fence about if they've come and actually visited us, but I mean, with the amount of planets out there and stuff like that, I imagine that there has to be an intelligent race out there somewhere. I just don't know if we're big enough that they would come and visit us.
All Spielberg.
Yeah, I guess like it's like an interesting, like, I definitely agree that there must be something out there, because I think it would almost be it's more insane to like think that we're the only planet. You know what I mean? Like, that's
Center
so
of the
much more
universe.
far-fetched to me. Yeah. But like in regards to this like sort of whole podcast, I like, and being a cynical person, I'm very skeptical about all of this stuff. And I think for me, it would take actual firsthand experiences to convince me of a lot of the things that we're going to talk about. And that is just like, that's because of my personality. And that's something I should probably talk to my shrink about. You know what I mean? But it's like, there is certain there, and that's why I'm interested to sort of hear from you guys who I'm hoping are going to convince me to be a little bit less cynical and a little bit more open-minded, because like I love aliens. I love the idea of aliens, alien movies, sci-fi, all that stuff. But like, that's actually probably, of all the sort of paranormal, cryptid, ghostly thing, that's probably the one that I can get behind the most, actually, is aliens, is like extraterrestrial life from outside of our Earth, outside of our solar system. So yeah, that's sort of where I stand on it.
Cool.
Mike?
Yeah, there's a couple stories that I think are pretty, like the Betty and Barney Hill story. I think is pretty, like, I believe parts of it. I think it something could have happened. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I'm with Jon on that, where it's I kind of need hard proof. I almost need to be abducted. To fully believe.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you.
Which I was hoping. I know I told you guys in a text. I would have liked to have been abducted over the last week, just so I could have a cool story to tell you guys today. But unfortunately, it didn't happen.
Mike, what are your thoughts on the?
Where do you stand,
existence?
my friend?
Yes.
Well, I traditionally am very gullible, so I have to play it extra careful on the stuff that I kind of believe or don't believe. For sure, we have confirmation from it was the Navy or the Air Force that they have craft that they released the video of that is performing maneuvers that we don't have the technology to pull off. So there, at the very least, is a pocket on this planet with far more advanced technology than what we currently have or currently know about. So at the very least, even if these aren't beings from space, like, they could be people with just super high-tech craft.
Right.
And they could pull this stuff off, and then you can start screwing with people if you have nothing better to do. There was a pilot. I think it was the pilot that one of the pilots that encountered that craft. I was listening to an interview with him, and he said one of the things that he and his buddies used to do, this is a military pilot, is they would fly real low elevation reconnaissance, and they had like FLIR infrared night vision cameras and everything. So if you're flying over an extremely wooded area and you see a campfire, that thing shines like a spotlight for their cameras. So he said when he and his buddies would be doing like night flights with like night vision goggles, real low light situation, and they would see a campfire, they would slow down as much as they could while still maintaining the height. And then right above the campfire, they would kick on the afterburner and take off. And then all of a sudden, if you're in the middle of the woods, which I go camping plenty, and there's no lights around other than the fire, and then a jet is right above you and then kicks on the afterburner, you are never going to forget that. You are going to think that you just had an encounter, because you did. It just wasn't with aliens. But you're not going to know that. And that's what these dudes would just do for fun. And so there are people that are definitely having these experiences. They don't necessarily have to be from Zeta Reticuli. But I think a lot of this stuff is true. And then it's just whether or not you want to go down the alien probe hole, or if you want to say that these are just government black budget agencies that are screwing with people or testing people or just testing their technology.
I see what you did there, by the way.
It's awesome either way.
Alien Probe Hole was the name of my band in high school, actually. So I'm glad you that.
Experimental prog metal.
Yeah.
Alien Probe Hole. I kind of like that.
That's a great point. Like, because there definitely are. I mean, that's just one story, right? And I'm sure there are plenty of shitheads out there that are.
I feel like I could take that guy at his word.
Yeah. Sure.
You know? So, but then he saw something that he can't explain. So it could go a whole other level up. So there could be like super secret CIA guys that have drones that can travel faster than anything we've ever made that mess with those pilots. So you're like, I remember when I was camping in high school, man, you and your buddy screwed with me, and now it's my turn to get back at you with my drone. I don't know.
I mean, we do have like the Harrier jet technology where we can, a jet can hover and go straight up and zigzag or whatever the heck it does. So I mean, there is some sort of technology out there. But yeah, what kind of stuff do we not know about that the government has that could be messing with us by them just testing it?
5G
on a normal basis. Yeah, we won't get into that though.
No, that's its own episode.
Yeah, that's its own episode for sure.
Mitch, I want to know where you stand on 5G, but more importantly, I want to know where you stand on aliens and their existence.
All right. So for a very long time, I was very skeptical of the idea of alien visitation to planet Earth. Now, I was pretty confident there was life throughout the galaxy. I mean, kind of going along the lines of what you said, John, I feel like it's more obscene and convoluted to claim that we are the only form of life in the galaxy, which is just bizarre.
Absurd.
Like, how could you possibly even say that, right? But as far as aliens coming and visiting Earth, I was always very, very skeptical with alien abduction and alien visitation and UFO sightings and stuff like that. It wasn't until a couple of years ago I went down the rabbit hole with Skinwalker Ranch. Have you ever heard of Skinwalker Ranch?
Oh, yeah.
So, for those who don't know, Skinwalker Ranch, basically this ranch in Utah in the... I always struggle to pronounce it. Uinta Basin, I think it is. Basically, a ranch in Utah, totally littered with strange, I guess for lack of a better term, you would call it alien phenomena. Lights in the sky, UFO sightings, sightings of physical beings. But what's really fascinating about it is that they called in, there was a research team that was based there for a period of like 10 years from I think the end of the 90s all the way until like 2010 of actual scientists who were studying this phenomena. And the fact that they were able to witness and document these things, and like the level of scientific scrutiny that was applied to something, and yet the evidence still manifested, to me, I found compelling enough to completely change my opinion that maybe aliens really are coming to Earth.
Yeah, that's Skinwalker Ranch is super interesting. We'll have to do an episode about
We
that.
could do we could do an entire episode on that.
Yeah,
Easily.
there's so
Easily.
much behind it. Yeah, there's so much. There's a whole history behind it too.
Yeah.
With sort of the native Indians of that land. It's really interesting.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yeah,
This
this-
whole Skinwalker legend that ties into it all, and it's interesting that the more you go with like the paranormal aspect of it, not necessarily like the what's a flesh and blood creature versus this, like when you start going with like the spiritual and paranormal aspect of it, it's interesting how so many things like tie together in odd ways with like how legends corroborate not only to other legends across the globe, but also things that would seem unrelated but are also related. So it's easy to see how people get conspiracy theories, in my opinion.
Yeah, especially with the internet, everyone having a voice.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
But there are a lot of good docs about Skinwalker. If anyone listening wants to go deep into it, there's some good ones out there that should definitely be checked out. What was Mitch? You mentioned one a while back when we were first talking about the show. Weren't you talking about a show? There was a movie or a show that was coming out.
Oh yeah, very recently, History Channel did a season-long show called, I think it's called like The Mysteries of Skinwalker Ranch or something like that. And basically, for the first time ever, Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch. Yeah,
Secrets.
And for the first time, they took a camera documentary crew in there to document the stuff on it. And now I haven't gotten a chance to actually sit down and watch the entire series. I've only seen clips of it. But from what I know, that they have, like, they've recorded, like, actual UFO sightings and stuff on camera. Now, granted, we all kind of know how media is. Could they fake it? Sure. But, at some point, you got to be willing to take people, give them the benefit of the doubt to a degree, even with popular entertainment, right? So
I'll have to go back and watch it because I tapped out after 4 minutes in the first episode.
Oh, really?
Now, why is that? What set you off?
We all know media,
Oh, yeah.
and it's just like it just stunk of it,
Yeah.
And that takes a lot away from me now. When it's a setup, that it's a scene.
Yeah.
And it's not, because it's not as polished as the other shows, they would rather stage everything. So even if something happened, they put so much fabrication and BS.
Yeah.
Like it's
kind of loses.
I
its charm.
feel you there. I feel you
so,
there.
And I want all this stuff to be real.
Yeah,
I
me
want to
too.
watch the actual footage. And
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
But when it's delivered in a way that it's like, oh, like why does it have to be you?
Yeah.
bringing
Well,
me-
it doesn't help that it was on the History Channel, which isn't exactly, it doesn't have a lot of integrity, that network anymore.
Yeah.
Not like it. I mean, did it ever really? Maybe back in
it's
the
a-
90s.
I
But
mean,
not so much
They don't
now.
even
mean-
try. It's just entertainment.
Yeah.
It's all just
Yeah,
entertainment.
yeah, totally. Like, Ancient Aliens and all those crazy shows they have on there now.
Which I love. But
Yeah,
I
no,
also-
it's fun. It's
I also want
it's
proof.
fun entertainment.
So we have some stories, right? Jarvis, do you want to kick it off? We mentioned the story that you wanted to talk about. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but if
Yeah.
you want to expand on it, I think that'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
so the Betty and Barney Hill story, which is hits pretty close to us because we all live in New England.
Yeah.
And this was actually one of the first alien stories that I kind of heard about and got a little bit attached to. It's pretty fascinating, and it's there's a ton of resources out there about it. But what I have here, I just got like a quick rundown because I obviously don't want to read a whole novel to you guys. But
Yeah.
it's pretty fascinating. It took place in New Hampshire, where Mike is from. So I don't know how many similarities you have with them in this story, living in the woods of New Hampshire. But let me jump into it. So the Betty and Barney Hill alien abduction. In 1961, a married couple, both normal by all accounts and leaders in their community, were driving home from a vacation at Niagara Falls when they saw what they thought was a falling star. But it moved around in the sky and began to grow bigger. They decided to drive slowly along the road and follow the light as it grew closer to them in the sky, eventually stopping in the middle of the highway as the object hovered only 80 to 100 feet from them. Sorry, hold on. I just minimized my window by accident. At this point, Barney Hill commits a horror movie no-no and gets out of the car to get a closer look. After seeing a craft with 8 to 11 humanoid creatures in black uniforms on it, I don't know where I'm finding some of these stories with this grammar. He screamed, "They're going to capture us," and ran back to the car, and the couple drove home. A trip that should have taken 3 hours mysteriously took 7. The Hills could not account for the missing time. Additionally, a lot of other strange things happened, leading them to conclude they had been abducted. Arriving home at about dawn, the Hills assert that they had some odd sensation and impulses they could not readily explain. Betty insisted their luggage be kept near the back door rather than in the main part of the house. Their watches would never run again. Barney noted that the leather strap for the binoculars was torn, though he could not recall it tearing. The toes of his best dress shoes were inexplicably scraped. Barney says he was compelled to examine his genitals in the bathroom, though he found nothing unusual. They took long showers to remove possible contamination, and each drew a picture of what they had observed. Their drawings were strikingly similar. Perplexed, the Hills say they tried to reconstruct the chronology of the events they witnessed in the UFO and drove home. But immediately after they heard the buzzing sounds, their memories became incomplete and fragmented. They vaguely recalled a luminous moon-shaped sitting on the road. Barney recalled, "Oh no, not again." Betty thought Barney had taken a sharp left turn off Route 3. You know Route 3, Mike Holmes? You familiar with that road? Is that in New Hampshire?
I've driven on it, but I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah. After sleeping for a few hours, Betty awoke and placed the shoes and clothing she had worn during the drive into her closet, observing that the dress was torn at the hem, zipper, and lining. Later, when she retrieved the items from her closet, she noticed a pinkish powder on her dress. She hung the dress on her clothesline, and the pink powder blew away. But the dress was irreparably damaged. She threw it away, but then changed her mind, retrieving the dress and hanging it in her closet. Over the years, 5 laboratories have conducted chemical and forensic analyses on the dress. There were shiny, concentric circles on their car's trunk and had not been there the previous day. Betty and Barney experimented with a compass, noting that when they moved it close to the spots, the needle would whirl rapidly. But when they moved it a few inches away from the shiny spots, it would drop down. And as time passed, Betty and Barney remembered more and more details of their abduction. So much so that they were able to draw, both of them were able to draw a map of a solar system that they said that they traveled to in this abduction, during this abduction.
What?
Which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
But it all goes back to that mentioning what Mike mentioned earlier is like you completely lose track of time, it seems like, with most of these abduction stories I'm reading. Like that was a big one in this where like they said the 3-hour trip turned into a 7-hour, or was really a 7-hour trip. It's like
that's a phenomena in these stories that comes up a lot. They call it missing
Yeah.
time. And basically,
Yeah.
like in a nutshell, you'll just be sitting there, at like 10 a.m. in the morning, and then next thing you know, it's 6 o'clock at night, and you have no idea where all that time went, and you had no idea what you did or what happened or anything.
Well, usually you can blame that on drugs, but
Yeah.
I don't think in this case, I don't think they were doing drugs and driving back from Niagara Falls.
Let me propose,
But it also makes me think like, what these aliens? Do they have some sort of like control over time and space? Like, is that something they can like manipulate?
Now,
Like,
what
it's-
if this is, I like to call it Occam's aluminum razor.
Okay. All right. I like the term already.
What's the easiest conspiracy reality you could apply to this? Now, let's say that unknown black ops helicopter with a task force of dudes, like 4 or 6 dudes,
Yeah.
with a really bright light. So already you're not recognizing like this technology shouldn't even exist. So if you see this driving on the road, you're not going to know what it is. But somehow they're up there, bright light shining on the car, makes the guy stop and be like, what's going on? What is this? Then these guys land the craft, get out, sodium pentothal in the neck, right? Drag this couple away from their car. So that explains the scratches on the shoes. Then do whatever they're doing to them. And then put them back where they found them. And then leave on their way. Right? So I again,
Sure.
this is all just bullshit. I don't know the circumstances or the motivation or what would cause the concentric circles it's certainly extremely interesting that they'd be drawing similar things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if they were both taken by people and then drugged up so that they didn't experience, which those drugs do exist,
Oh yeah, for sure they do.
and their interpretation of the experience ends up being aliens because they just watched a movie or they just read a book.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then, so their brain, like any traumatic experience we go through, is trying to reason what happened, trying to piece together the input that you know you received but don't understand.
Yeah, and this is the 1960s too. This is when LSD was a thing. Like this is when a lot of people were experimenting with acid, and
Yeah, so
I'm
what was
sure.
that?
What's
What was
that?
the government program that were, I'm blanking on the name, where they tested the CIA
Operation
space-
Paperclip.
No, that's where they got the Nazi scientists. to
Project
run
Ultra?
that.
Oh,
MK Ultra.
MK
yeah,
Ultra.
MK Ultra. Yeah, that's what it
MK
So
is.
they were
Ultra.
doing that. That's been declassified. That is something that they were doing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what if part of that was, well, let's see how a couple reacts to this substance in the same room together, and then they just grab these two.
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but like if getting dosed without knowing it is a terrifying thing. So I couldn't imagine
No.
being
No,
a
no.
couple like that and getting dosed. Especially
Yeah,
with LSD. LSD back then too, which was like they were just figuring it out. So who knows how potent it was back then. Yeah, this is fascinating
Also,
stuff.
could be alien.
Could be. You
Right,
never
could
know.
be aliens.
And we don't know what kind of technology. I mean, they could have had the stuff we see now. They could have been making that stuff back then. Like you said, the Black Hawk helicopter. Like that could have been
Yeah.
a thing back then. And we just didn't even know about it. Or who knows?
I mean, they got to test that equipment somehow.
Yeah, right? Yeah, why not terrify a couple that's coming
Well,
home from a trip to Niagara Falls?
I read a book called Area 51. The name of the writer escapes me, but it was all about the craft, the top secret military aircraft that they tested at that facility. And then the idea
awesome.
was when they're testing the SR-71 Blackbird, like
Yep.
all of their radar-defying craft. And so you have these vehicles that have never been seen in the air around this military base that shouldn't exist. I don't even know if they've officially stated that the Groom Lake facility exists. Like it might still, even though it's in the collective public
Right.
zeitgeist, it might still not exist on paper.
Yeah, yeah.
And she was saying like they were testing all these crafts, and that's why they kind of wanted to be like, oh yeah, it's from space, it's all aliens, because if the Russians are hearing about it, or if any of our competitors are hearing about it, they can get muddied up as to what really is going on. And then if anybody sees something flying in the sky, they'll be like, oh, it must be a UFO.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
that's safer for them than them being like, oh, they're testing a secret craft.
And I mean, again, going back, it's the 1960s. This is like the height of American USSR conflict.
Yeah,
You know,
Cold
like
War.
we were. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on between our country and theirs, and who knows? It could have been a secret technology that we were trying to keep secret.
Yeah.
But these
So-
people had quite an experience.
Yeah, that's a pretty famous story, right?
Yeah.
That's sort of like a dipping your
I feel like-
toe in the water story,
Yeah.
right? That a lot of people know about. There's like there's movie about it, and there's like docu-series about it and stuff.
Tons of
so-
books. Tons
yeah.
of books.
I think
and
it's
everything,
something
yeah.
that we should explore more, And
I agree.
hell, we'll all when we can get close enough to Mike's house and knock on his door, we'll all take a visit.
Well, they have
Maybe-
they have that UFO festival in Exeter, New Hampshire every year, and that's one of the things that we had on the books. We were going to try and all go do together, and that's
Yeah.
I think the last time I went a couple years ago, you might have been like a shuttle you could get on. And they would drive you over to the spot where it was supposed to happen.
Amazing.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's,
Now-
when the world's not ending as much,
Yeah.
Are
we
Betty
can
and
check
Barney,
them
are
out.
they still alive? No, they have passed. Okay. Yeah, Barney died actually in 1969, and Betty died in 2004.
Wow.
So
Interesting.
I got a question, right?
Yeah.
Has anybody ever made the connection between Barney and Betty Hill and Barney and Betty Rubble and their encounter with the Great Gazoo?
Not that. I didn't take it that far.
Do you
came
think
first?
do you
That's
think
a
that's a
fan theory.
coded reference?
Could be. When was the
when was
Flintstones?
Hanna-Barbera, yeah, like that's like the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Why not? If you're a writer on that show, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, because that
Actually,
was
that's-
1961. The Hill abduction was 1961. So
Yep.
when did Flintstones start? Jarvis is on it, I think.
Well, actually, why don't we look? What was the alien's name again?
The Great Gazoo.
Kazoo.
Great Gazoo.
Oh,
when
yeah.
was he
Right, 'cause
introduced?
he was later.
Yeah.
He's later in the series for sure.
Yeah. So let's find out when he was introduced.
Probably like
He was in
1972, dude.
1965.
Hell
that's it.
yeah.
It says he first appeared on the show October 29th, 1965. So
Listen.
that could be a connection.
Mitch.
Yeah, if any fan theories pop up on the fan theory subreddit after this episode comes out, we know that people are sniping Mitch's idea.
Yeah,
they're
and make
based
sure
on
you
Mitch
link
Town.
Beastie Boys.
Yeah, link Beastie Boys, tag us.
Yeah. That's actually that's
super
amazing.
interesting.
Good call, Mitch.
So, oh my God, Harry is knocking over the Jarvis cutout. That's Harry.
I didn't even notice that was back there.
There's an alien in the room.
I didn't even notice the cutout was behind you.
That's incredible.
That's so good. Oh, that's my favorite thing ever.
Yeah, the cutout that helped start this journey.
It really did. That picture with the two Sasquatches. One of my
Yeah,
favorite
Mike-
photos of all time.
Mike, Mike, you're a hero in a lot of ways, but getting this cutout made, and I mean,
Teamwork
is
makes
truly,
the dream work.
Yeah, hell
we really need to get the rest of us though. Like we all need our own cutouts
other
for sure.
cutouts.
Yeah, of each other for sure.
Yeah.
I think each of us should have a different one behind us during the recording.
I love that.
But yeah, I think that's completely plausible. I would say, I would lean towards believing that connection's true. Betty and
I
Barney.
mean, at
and
the very
Oh,
least,
the
if you want to
Flintstones.
believe that, yeah.
Flintstones connection. Yeah, I totally. That's awesome. Blew my mind, Mitch.
Listen. I mean, I did kind of just pull it out of my ass, but I'm one of those
Hey,
people
it's fine.
where if I talk about it enough, I can convince myself that it's real. So that's that's my standpoint now. I fully believe that is a coded reference that they made to the Barney and Betty Hill case. They were like, we have these characters named Barney and Betty, just like the famous alien case. Let's have them meet an alien.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I love
Is
it.
there any way that do we have an email? Because I feel like if we have people listening to this that could give us a little insight if they know.
Yeah, we do.
Like, I'd love it if they could reach out to us.
Do
and,
you believe that Betty and Barney Rubble were yabba dabba ducted?
Email us at beastieboysparanormal@gmail.com and tell us what you think about the history of Hanna-Barbera and all of that.
And if it's related
lovely
to Betty
thing.
and Barney Hill.
If it's so Mitch, now that the spotlight is on you for your wonderful
Oh boy.
theory, you have a similar alien abduction story. Is that correct to share with us?
Yes, I have an alien encounter story that I can share.
Alien encounter.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Cool. Let's. I would love to hear it.
Okay, so I talked about Skinwalker Ranch, right? Mm-hmm. But now we're going to take a little pivot to its sort of B-movie sister ranch, Stardust Ranch. So
I've never heard of this.
yes, so
I hope you were going to say Skywalker Ranch for a second. I was so excited.
I wish, but the stars don't align that properly, not all the time. So
Okay.
Stardust Ranch. So in 1996, a guy named John Edmonds and his wife, they purchased a ranch in Buckeye, Arizona to open a horse rescue for injured and sick horses, right? And now this story, in my opinion, has all the hallmarks of that classic, well, this is just too good to be true story. So, first of all, the house, it's abandoned, can't contact the previous owners, working with the real estate agents, all the furniture and belongings are still in the house, right? Later, before John Edmonds moves in, he finds all of the stuff that was in the house deposited in the empty swimming pool on the property, just mysteriously. Contacts the agents. They don't know what the hell happened. Still haven't gotten in contact with the previous owners. But he buys the house anyway. He hires somebody to clean it up. So, about the first night he moves in, Edmonds is relaxing on the porch after, moving boxes in all day. And it's, nighttime, watching the walkway leading up to his house. There's this guy who starts walking up to the house. He's in military fatigues, long coat, unkempt hair. And then he notices that the guy is wielding a sword. So John goes into his house, gets his revolver, and confronts the guy. And the guy says that he's a monster hunter who worked for the previous owners and is here to do his job. And so Edmonds, hand on his gun, because let's face it, when you're staring down a guy with a sword, you don't know what to fucking think, especially when he tells you he's a monster hunter. So he laughs in his face and he says, well, get out of here, dude. I don't need your help anymore, you crazy nutcase. So the monster hunter, he gets all pissed off and leaves, and then he tells Edmonds that he's going to regret that. And, I bet he did, because for over the next 20 years, and possibly even still going, John's ranch has been plagued with all sorts of UFO and alien activity. So it starts with hearing strange sounds and noises outside or at night, but then things kind of quickly escalate. So the ranch is a rescue for horses, right? So he's building horse corrals. So he's having the fences that he keeps putting up for the horse corrals keep getting moved out of the ground. Some of them get twisted and bent. Eventually, he actually finds one of the horses dead, caught up in the fence with the post bent and twisted around its neck. Now, here's where it starts to get fun. One night, while sleeping, John wakes up in the middle of the night, sees 3 shadows about 4 feet high coming out of the corner of his room, surrounding his wife while she slept. So, as I think any self-respecting American would do, he leaps out of bed and attacks them with a baseball bat. And he hits one of them, and he hears the thud and everything, and it's followed by a high-pitched shriek, which wakes up his wife, right? Then the 3 shadows vanish. His wife wakes up, like, what the hell is going on? John calls the police, but of course there's no way to verify his story. So from that point on, he starts stashing all kinds of weapons strategically throughout the house. And now that night, he kind of kicked off a 20-year war with the aliens. So John and his wife would see UFOs all the time in the forms of both orbs of light and aircraft in the sky above his house. He would also see what he says is portals opening and closing in the sky, and seeing these aircraft come in and out of these portals. Now another night, John woke up again to find the aliens in the middle of abducting his wife. His wife was floating above the bed, being pulled by a beam of light outside of the open window. So, like any good self-respecting American man does, he went and grabbed his trusty AK-47 with a double banana clip, rushes outside, and begins firing at the light source. And he claims that he was hearing bullets cascade off of some type of metal craft. He fired 2 full magazines at the craft until the lights went out, and then from that night on, he started handcuffing his wife to the bed, not for some kinky fun time, but so she wouldn't be taken by aliens.
Whoa,
Now,
Scarfaced him.
That's amazing.
Now, in another instance, his dog chased 3 gray aliens and managed to bite and trip one in the yard, but then it vanished into thin air, and his dog subsequently choked to death. Now, in total, he claims that aliens have killed 3 of his dogs. However, John himself claims to have killed a total of 18 aliens. One notable instance, he was again asleep, only to be awoken by 3 aliens closing in around him. So, like I said, as any self-respecting American man would do, he jumped out of bed and grabbed his nearby strategically stashed katana and cut all 3 of them down. Now, of all the aliens he killed, John claims to have killed all of them with his katana. And also, he says he has the scars to prove it. He has quite a few scars from his claimed battles with, quote, malevolent ETs. Now, according to John, the bodies would always disappear, likely taken by the aliens, of course. However, he collected blood samples, which he sent to a biologist, a Dr. William Levengood, in 2013. Now, according to Levengood's findings, which again, our only source of this is John, and we're going to get into why that is in a minute, the samples were pure hemoglobin, and matches samples from cattle mutilations. They also included large amounts of chlorophyll, indicating that it's some type of plant-related substance or something like that. Now, Levengood was preparing to go public with his findings to the greater scientific community, but he dies of old age because he was in his 80s, and his lab burns to the ground in a freak accident. And shortly after that, Jon claims that he got visited by the Men in Black, who came up to him at his ranch and told him to keep quiet about the activities happening on the ranch. So naturally, Jon goes to the media with his story instead. He writes a book titled Stardust Ranch, The Incredible True Story, about his experiences, and he also puts his house up for sale for $5 million. Now, people accuse Jon of hoaxing the entire thing, saying that it's really just an elaborate story to justify selling his ranch for $5 million, right? However, to make matters even more interesting, in 2016, he does a video interview, and you can see what appears to be two gray aliens peeking around the corner, spying on him while he's doing the interview. Also,
in his house or from the window?
In his house, like peeking around the corner in his house. And now, in 2016 also, the Travel Channel show Ghost Adventures went to Stardust Ranch. They conducted a nighttime investigation where they documented plenty of paranormal phenomena, including strange sounds, recordings, and also sustained physical injuries. And their conclusion was that the ranch was actually haunted by demons who were pretending to be aliens for some reason. Now,
Hell yeah.
Stardust Ranch is no longer for sale, and in case anybody was curious, it is estimated on Zillow to be worth about $530,000, not $5 million.
Wow.
So how's that for a crazy alien story?
Yeah, that's wild. I
Wild.
never heard that one. That's awesome.
Arizona, you said, or New Mexico?
Arizona. Buckeye, Arizona. It's about an hour and a half from Phoenix.
That dude needs
Okay,
to get his CO2 checked.
And you did mention the Men in Black, which
Yes.
is not Will Smith and Tommy Lee
No.
Jones.
Although,
There was a
by the way this story goes, with a guy shooting alien craft with an AK-47 and
pretty
cutting down aliens with his fucking katana. I really hope that it was Will Smith and I really hope they both showed up.
I would just like to say, if you're out there and you are a monster hunter and you're listening to that, email us.
Yeah, we want you on this show.
I would
That
love
might
to
be
meet
my favorite part of the story.
I would love to meet a self-proclaimed monster hunter.
And can you imagine this dude, right? He's steady work. The guy moved out. He's finally like, oh, the new guy's in.
Yeah.
I'm going to start working for him. This is my only job. 'Cause
Yeah.
if you're a monster hunter, the odds are you're not like day in at a Best Buy.
Yeah.
Right? You got to train. So he goes, the guy tells him to fuck off. Now he's like, oh shit, I'm out of work. So he sends his kids in dressed up to scare the new owners so he can start working again. And then the dude beats one of his kids in the head with a bat. I'm not saying that's what happened, but can you imagine?
He sliced up 18 people that this guy knew.
Yeah.
You know,
This kid
the
and all
guy
his
has
friends.
to, he has to keep coming and like taking the bodies and hiding them because like he's complicit in
Yeah,
this whole like
yeah.
plot.
Yeah, and they
you know?
can't reveal. You can't reveal yourself. As
No, of course not.
Only
Yeah.
for the person you're working at.
Right.
So,
Oh my goodness.
God, those poor
What's John's last name?
Edmonds.
Smith.
John Edmonds. I'm gonna look into that book.
Yeah, you can actually, if you Google Jon Edmonds Stardust Ranch on Google Images, you can actually find quite a number of, because he's posted like pictures all on social media of all his
I'm
claims.
all
So
over
like
this. That's
you
my whole
can-
night now, Mitch.
you can find pictures of his claimed scars from his encounters with aliens. You can find a picture of the katana that he used next to some dried
see it.
blood.
Hattori Hanzo
Yeah.
blade.
Also, apparently,
He looks exactly like I imagine he would.
Yeah,
look,
yeah.
Too. He's got a mustache.
Also, apparently, a separate investigation, I don't remember what it was, but they also went there, and not only did they find a UFO, like, have a UFO sighting, but apparently they chased after some type of humanoid shape that left behind some kind of rock that had a star hollowed out inside of it. Like, literally circular rock, inside of the rock, hollowed up like a donut, like a star shape. Yeah.
Wow.
So he also in his gift shop he sells stones that have live, laugh, love.
Does what did he do with these bodies? Like, why would he not?
Well,
after
according
he
to
chopped
him,
them up with his katana.
according to him, they would disappear. So,
Convenient.
yeah, real convenient, right? Almost a little too convenient. So,
Yeah.
you know, you could go the line of thinking, well, the aliens are obviously taking away their dead comrades to bury them with the highest honors since they died in the 20-year war against this man, or he's making the whole thing up.
The sample thing is super interesting if it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
That was
that
the
is
most interesting for me too.
for sure. If it's not just him and like some real old scientist being like, please stop sending me this shit. I told you I will not test it. I have no
Right.
intentions to ever test it. My lab's been closed for 15 years. Stop testing me.
Leave me alone.
And then he just goes there, kills the guy, burns his lab, and is like, oh, they're covering it up.
So, I mean, he's got a photo with like some blood and like a sword on here that I'm looking at that you mentioned.
Yeah.
I'd like to imagine that he wasn't actually fighting aliens. He was just fighting like his kids or something, slashing them with his sword. They come in the middle of the night, they wet the bed, he's just slashing at them. This guy sounds unhinged. Although going outside with an AK-47 with 2 banana clips would be pretty fun to shoot at the sky.
Let her go!
I do gotta say.
Mitch, did it say if he had kids?
John Edmonds? I don't know, actually. I know he's
Well,
married.
he probably doesn't anymore.
That would be one of the best sources, right? If
Yeah.
you could look up the kid's Instagram,
Yeah.
and then it was like, oh, LOL, the aliens are back. They're doing TikTok dances with Grays.
Yeah.
I just added him on Facebook.
Did you really?
Yeah.
They're probably the ones behind the Little Mayo vines that used to come out back in the day. You guys remember those?
No.
Remember the little alien that would dance around
Yeah.
and do drugs and stuff? Oh man, that's wild, dude. That's a great story. I'm gonna
man.
deep dive into that.
Yeah. Super interesting. Stardust Ranch. We should maybe think about doing a full episode on that because there
We
seems to be
should
a
go
lot.
if we can camp on his
I'm
his
down.
grounds.
That'd
Yeah,
be
I
sick.
mean, hopefully we'll be Facebook friends by the time this episode comes out.
Dude, I
What-
bet
what-
we could reach out
All
to
right,
him.
all right. Let's go around. What weapon are you bringing to Stardust Ranch, Jarvis?
Ooh, what weapon? That's a really good question. Skip me for a second. Let me think about this for a sec.
John,
Saber.
like an old battle saber, like from
Yes.
the Civil War, with
Yeah,
a
no,
hand,
well,
hand
I was-
guard.
I was thinking more of like a sort of like Middle Eastern saber, you know, with
Oh,
one of,
like
the
a s-
big
yeah,
hand. I
yeah.
do want the big handguard, but like almost like something that you would see
scimitar.
like,
Scimitar.
in Aladdin.
Yeah, scimitar.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
There you go.
A
Yeah,
nice,
that's
a
what I
nice
want, a
sham
scimitar.
shear, if you will.
Yeah.
A talwar.
Perfect.
I know what I'd bring. I'd bring a net so I could catch them. Just throw a net on them so they can't get away, and then John can whack them with the blade, with the blunt side of the blade, and knock them out. What would you guys bring?
Oh, well, I'll show
Mike
you.
and Mitch.
He's got
Oh!
He's got it ready.
I will be bringing my 3-section staff.
Nice. So Mitch can just bonk him on the head after I throw the net on him.
Wow. That's amazing, Mitch.
I was not expecting that.
Mike, what are you about to pull
I'm gonna
out?
pull up. Since Mitch did it, I'm gonna do it too.
Pulls out a trash
Maybe,
barrel.
like weapons.
I want to just throw a net on John Edmonds and just ask
His
him what he
group
knows. Ooh. Smash him with it.
Those aliens, they sound like Groot because they're made of plant
Yeah,
material.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what they said. Mike, you okay down
Yeah,
there?
the suspense
Yeah,
is
Mike-
killing me.
I don't know where
I
my
know.
weapons
Digging
are.
through the
I don't know
ghillie
where my
suit.
weapons are.
Dude, if an alien was coming to your room right now,
I'd
you would
dead.
be
I'd dead.
fucked.
I have
Yeah,
a
dude.
I have a fishing pole right here. I don't know where I put my knife.
You're already probed at this point. They're already inside you.
Yeah, dude,
It's
they
fine.
got you.
I'm-
Right down.
Don't worry,
I'm
Mike.
free.
I'll make
I'm
sure
free.
to bring a couple of extra
Yeah,
weapons for you.
Thank you, buddy.
Also,
Yeah,
why
I
are
have
they
to
so
bear knuckle.
fascinated with butts? By the way, anybody got any theories on that?
I don't know,
by
but
alien-
that's a real good segue into my story.
Yeah, baby.
That's why I did it.
So we're gonna take it back to Pascagoula, Mississippi.
Ooh.
And the year is 1973, and two dudes, Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker, are like enjoying some fishing off a pier after work. They're both like 18, late teens. You know, they had a long day working in Pascagoula. Just want to catch some fish on a Thursday night, much like tonight.
Oh, spooky.
But the
So they're
calls were
fishing.
coming from inside the house.
Probe is coming from inside your butt.
Oh, even worse.
All right. So they're fishing. They hear this whizzing sound, like I don't know if that's what the sound was,
Yeah.
but that's the one I'm doing. They see
Fair enough.
this like oval craft, like your typical alien saucer. They said it was between 30 and 40 feet across, 8 to 10 feet high, and they said that there were two blue lights with this thing, and they were still like conscious, but completely paralyzed. So like what do they call it when you're like sleep paralysis kind of?
yep,
Except
yep.
they were completely
Yep.
they were totally awake.
Mm.
And they're out in like semi-public. They're on the coast of the Pascagoula River in Mississippi, and they said these three creatures that had robotic slit mouths, like just these line mouths and crab-like pinchers, took them. So they come down. They're like robots. They have these tiny little piggy bank mouths. They grab these two dudes and they take them aboard the craft, and then they start examining them, right? And in an interview with NBC News in 2013, Parker described it as, "They gave me a thorough, and I mean thorough, examination, just like any doctor." So you got probed, dudes. You got totally probed. And like
Why,
him and his
though?
buddy, they don't go into it. They just like experimented. They picked these dudes
Yeah,
up.
you think
the
they would just
robo
cut you open, but who?
crab people were like, "We need fisherman samples." And they took these Mississippi fishermen off the docks, and they he checked them out, just like
stuff to
the
their
Big
butt.
Lebowski. It's a good man and thorough.
Do you think he had them turn his head and cough?
He said thorough examination, just like a doctor. So yes, they probably had him do all that. You're like, you know, do you have a history of heart disease in your family?
So then, what happened to them after this?
So
Like,
they just drop them back off, and they said that.
Did they have that weird missing time phenomenon again in the story? Did they mention
So
that?
I didn't read that specifically.
Okay.
And it seemed like they were trying to say he was conscious the entire time. They just couldn't move. So they were kind of like frozen and went along with it. I mean, I'm sure it's going to fuck with your sense of time no matter what.
Yeah.
They didn't say that like things like anything was really missing. And also like he can describe that they examined them both. Right? So instead
That sounds kind of
"I'm
like
not sure what
Fire
happened,"
in the Sky. Didn't that same thing kind of happen where he had the guy was paralyzed, but he could see everything going on around
Yes.
him?
Yeah.
As he was-
Billy, is that Billy Myers?
The Fire in the Sky guy?
I think it's Billy Myers, and he was out in like a lodge.
Yep, the
with
logger,
his
the logger.
buddies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they dropped these two dudes back off, and then this was one of the bigger ones because of the publicity after the fact. So it's the 73. You now have like the milieu of aliens in the culture, and so once these things come up, like that's where you run into the risk of people just making stuff up for attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was interesting to me about this particular case is that after this happened, two people interviewed these guys. One of them was James Harder, a ufologist of the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization. The other dude was J. Allen Hynek. And J. Allen Hynek was one of the guys hired by the government to unofficially research aliens in what was called as Project Blue Book. which was
I've heard of that.
started in 1952, and it was brought together just to study if UFOs were a real threat to national security. And J. Allen Hynek was just, I think, speaking of the History Channel, he was just played by Littlefinger in a series called Project Blue Book on the History Channel. And he went on after working for Project Blue Book to like study the events, and ostensibly he was interested. He found that this is a real thing, and even though the government was like, nah, shut it all down, he was like, I believe this is happening. I'm going to keep looking into it because it's the most interesting thing I've ever seen. There are also people that say or allege that J. Allen Hynek never stopped working for the government. So he continued under the auspices of like his personal interest, but all the time he was working. You can go deep in any direction on that.
Right.
But so he interviewed these two guys, and then he tried to like regressively hypnotize them, which is something I think still gets done for like trauma on individuals. It was a big thing. Like some people say it's real, some people say it's not, but they use hypnotic regression to kind of walk people through the experiences in order for them to describe what happened to them, even if their conscious mind isn't able to translate it as well. And what J. Allen Hynek said was these guys definitely had an experience. So it wasn't like two guys drinking on a pier being like, we should say we were abducted. I always want to be on the news, which that happens.
For sure it does.
He was saying that if the hypnosis worked and was legit, that these guys definitely had an experience with something out of the ordinary.
Hey, Calvin, do you know what would be fun? Well, after this fishing trip, we're going to tell everyone that we got our butts played with by these aliens. It'll be so much fun. We'll just be able to tell everyone, Calvin. What do you think?
Do we really got to play with the butts, though?
Yeah, Calvin, that's the most important part. Why don't we just need to tell everyone that they gave us a thorough examination, like a doctor. Imagine that, like a little alien doctor. Wouldn't that be fun to talk about?
I don't know, Hickson. It feels real strange. I mean, I like y'all and all, but I don't know if I want to. Why can't we just make it up? Like with the aliens,
I just don't think
the
the fun doesn't have to stop after the fishing trip. Let's just keep it going. Let's keep this fun. We're having a good vibe tonight. I just think we could talk about them playing with our butts. I'm really into spreading the butt stuff.
Yeah, but do you think that they could tell, like the police, if they look at our butts, they'll know if something's been inside?
So let's do some stuff to our butts, dude. I don't know. Like, we can make this story work. It's me and you. We're here to this together. I thought I'm trying to get you on board. I'm trying to change our lives, and so I'll poke your butt with a stick, and we'll tell the cops it was aliens.
All right.
Maybe they got caught playing with their own butts, and they were just trying to cover it up with the alien story.
They gotta have crab hands, or I ain't in.
Yeah, well, that's the first thing. Hold on, let me write this down. Crab hands, slit mouth, and they're just like a doctor. Also, my balls feel funny. Wow, what a wild story.
You know what? They do
story.
feel funny.
What year did you say? 72?
73.
73. Very interesting.
I've never heard of those guys. Do they have is there a title to like their story? You know how like they got the hill.
They got a podcast now. It's called Probing the Unknown.
Are you joking? That's amazing.
They're just like, it's like 40 years later, they're almost 60 years old, and they're still going on about it. Yeah, that's the interesting thing. Like, are these people still around? You know, like you looked up, Jarvis, you looked up the Hill folks. They have since passed.
Yeah. Betty passed in 2004.
I found that dude on Facebook, Mitch, that you're talking about. Mike, like these guys, if they were 18, right, in 1973, cut to 40-ish years later, they're going to be like 65.
Yeah, well, that interview that I read the quote
60.
from was from 2013.
Okay.
Charles Hickson died of a heart attack at age 80 on September 9th, 2011.
Oh, damn. Age 80. Oh, okay.
Oh, so yeah, they were a bit older.
They were older then. Yeah.
No, the other dude, Calvin Parker, who the interview was with, he was 18 when it happened in 73.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and he's still around. He's 58 in 2013, so he's 65
65.
now.
Yep.
We should try to reach out to him. Ask him
Just
what
so
kind
interesting.
Yeah, not after what we were just making fun of him and his poor dead buddy.
I don't think we were making fun of him. Hey, he didn't
Like,
die
oh, let me
from the
check out
alien.
one
He
of
died
these
of old
shows.
age.
It's just improv, Mike. It's just we just did a little. We did
Yeah,
a
is
little
he gonna
bit.
understand that? Is he gonna? I have no problem with it, obviously.
Oh, it's fun.
I'm in it
loved
for the
I
lulz.
was looking for. As soon as you said their names, Calvin and Clark, I think it was. I was like, I need to remember this name just so I can pretend to be one of them.
It's a Butte, Clark.
Wow, very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, that was another great story. Who's left? John, are you gonna read something?
Yeah, I got this story about this guy. He's going through like a training program. He's like way better at the training than everyone else, right? He's also way different in the way that he thinks about things, He ends up getting this job with this guy. He's getting partnered up with this. He's all like this like old curmudgeon-y sort of dude. But you know the difference between the new guy and the old fuck, The
makes
new
it look
guy,
good?
he makes this look good.
That's so good.
He
I
had us
also
in the
wrote
first
a
half.
really
Not gonna lie.
I wrote a long-winded synopsis of Close Encounters, seeing which one would come up, but I feel like the Men in Black one works a lot more. So I'll just keep this fake Close Encounters synopsis.
Nice
Real
move,
Close Encounters
sport.
synopsis.
That's
sorry?
really funny.
Nice move, sport.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I like what you did there. I'm a fan of that. That was really good.
In my real life, I say I make this look good. I say to Jocelyn, my lovely wife Jocelyn, the difference between me and you? I make this look good. Oh God, I love Men in Black so much. Yeah, no, I don't have any like real story. I did a fake Men in Black synopsis and a
I like that.
Encounter synopsis, and yeah, sort of. I didn't. I think it goes back to sort of what I was talking about before, like when we first started talking. Is like I don't have as much experience, like looking into this stuff as you guys. I don't think, which is like why I'm like really excited to do this.
Yeah.
So,
Which is why you make it
those
look
are-
good.
And we barely
make it
scratched
look
the
good.
surface. There's so
Yeah,
for sure.
so
Yeah.
much. Like we didn't even get into we didn't talk about Rendlesham. We didn't talk about yeah.
Some nice
we
teasers.
barely
I like
scratched
this.
the surface.
Yeah, right. So we'll have more episodes like this, and maybe we'll dig into things a little bit deeper. Whether it be Skinwalker Ranch, Stardust Ranch, every single ranch, Skywalker, like I mentioned, Skywalker Ranch,
Cool
Ranch, Cranch, the ketchup ranch combination.
Gross. Creamy ketchup.
Yeah,
Disgusting.
so all of those things. Yeah.
Cranch.
Hey, guys. Next week
Yeah.
for next
hey,
week,
Yeah.
we do ghosts.
Yeah. Let's do
Ooh,
ghosts.
I like
Put
that.
them
Spooky
down.
ghouls?
I like that.
Spooky ghosts.
Okay. Ghosts.
I'm all for that. I had a ghost experience that I will
Same.
actually share
I will
next
too.
week. Yeah, it
Yeah,
happened.
I will too.
I haven't done shit.
It was terrifying, and like it really made me believe in ghosts from that
Same.
point on.
Yep. Love it.
So yeah, I'm all for that. I think
Mitch,
ghosts is a
did
great
you get
idea.
haunted ever?
What happened?
What's that?
Mitch, did you ever get haunted?
So I have 3.
Don't tell the story.
I'm not gonna tell.
Yeah,
I'm
don't
not
tell
gonna
it. Yeah,
tell,
save
but
it.
I'm gonna lead up to it. I got 3 experiences in my life that were things that I can't explain. One of them I told you guys about when we went to the Cryptozoology Museum.
Yep.
Another one is a little personal. I'm not willing to share that one, but I do have a third one that honestly I don't know what to think of it. It could have been a ghost. So
Cool.
Wow.
I'll tell.
I can't wait to
I'll
hear
tell
it.
that story.
Love it.
Yeah,
Mike, what
I'm
about
into
yourself?
I don't think I do. I can't remember now. But we all know. There's one thing we know about Mike is that there's stuff in his past he doesn't always remember.
That's true.
Yeah.
I don't think
Either
I
that-
don't think anything.
Or
After
get your Ouija board out. Yeah, right. Get your Ouija board out and just try to summon something, right? I mean,
That sounds safe. I don't need Starburst Rain.
Starburst.
Oh my god. You silly goose.
I think Starburst Ranch is actually what Michael Jackson was going to call his property before he landed on Neverland.
That's what my
Ranch.
version of Stardust Ranch
Yeah.
would be.
Because like Hansel and Gretel, or like Hansel and Gretel, he was going to lead the kids there with a bunch of starbursts. The children to his
Oh
ranch.
no!
Hey, what? I didn't what?
Michael Jackson's a ghost now, so we got to be careful what we say. He could haunt us.
Oh yeah, I'll summon Michael Jackson.
We should do a seance maybe for the next episode.
So there's just speaking
Billie
of Michael
Jean's your
Jackson
lover.
and the and ghosts, there's
Is this the personal one?
no, there's an internet urban legend about the Ayuwoke, which is like you know in the song "Smooth Criminal"
Smooth
where he says "Are
Criminal,
you okay?" right? But it's
yes,
spelled
yes.
like AWOIA, like spelled all weird, right? And it's often paired with there's this horrendous looking wax sculpture of Michael Jackson in some like museum somewhere of like towards the later half of his life where he has like the long hair and he's like ghastly pale, right?
And he's plastic.
Yeah, right? So and the sculpture is terrifying looking, right? So they pair up that sculpture with like this story about how like if you do these like certain urban legend things, like the Ayuwoke will come and get you in the middle of the night.
Please pull that up so we can show it next episode for sure.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll have to go into
I was
that.
trying to find it, but I don't know how to spell it, and I just got some guy named Are You Okay's face.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find that
this
for you
was
guys.
a lot of fun. Yeah, please share it with us. And
Yeah.
we'll be talking about ghosts next time.
Heck yeah.
If you have any thoughts about Barney and Betty Rubble, email us. If you're a monster hunter or you know someone who is, email us.
Or if
right,
you're
Beastie Boys, Paranormal. Sorry, go ahead, Jarvis.
I was gonna say if you're John Edmonds too, please reach out to us.
Yeah,
Because I would
except
love to talk
John
to you.
Stenning's friend request. And then
Thank you.
we should do a show where we go hunt monsters at Stardust Ranch.
Yeah, I wonder if he still stays in touch with that monster hunter that he met.
I
No,
don't
he
think
worked
so.
all
He
of them,
he
right?
sent him back in like the first night.
Unless you think he like came back every day, like when you tell someone you don't need your driveway shoveled,
Yeah.
and then your driveway never gets shoveled, and the guy goes by with a plow and he's like,
Oh, that's good.
I like the idea that it could have ended any day of the 20 years, and Edmonds was just so stubborn. He's like, I ain't paying this guy to do work I could do. I'm gonna get down. I'll use the money for 2 banana clips. I ain't paying this guy. All right, love you, boys.
Yeah, guys,
Love
that
you
was
too.
fun.
Thanks. This
Till
was
next
very
week.
fun.